What is up, guys? It is Christ, and we are back with another video. Welcome back to the final episode of the Dream Theater Systematic Chaos album reaction. This one has just been all over the place. We are going to be finishing it with both the beginning and ending track of the song, In the Presence of Enemies. We are going to be checking it out as one song in this video, and here's what I'm going to do. I am going to react to it in its entirety, and then afterwards, I'm not going to review it right away. I'm going to cut the video here, because I have editing software now. I'm going to listen to it over and over again, and then I'm going to give you guys a real review on this song. And we're going to attach it in at the end after I do the review. So therefore, you guys are going to have a much better and more concise sort of track review for the song. Since it is basically one song, it was just split right down the middle. Well, not really right down the middle, but like... some of it was like 9 minutes at the beginning, 16 in the other. So I actually have this song on my computer, but for some reason, it's only showing that In the Presence of Enemies Part 2 has 12 minutes. Before you guys start typing in your keyboards, I looked it up, and it is not supposed to be that length. It is supposed to be like 16 minutes. So what I have done is I have brought it up on Spotify, meaning that it was an incomplete song copy to my computer, meaning I have to replace that, but I do have In the Presence of Enemies Part 1 completely, so we're going to be checking that out first, and then we're going to be switching over to Spotify and doing it that way. YouTube has been putting ads in the middle of songs now, and I'm not going to be using YouTube anymore for really song stuff. I'm going to be using Spotify from now on. So there's that. So I guess without further ado, let's check out In the Presence of Enemies Part 1. Not gonna lie, I've heard this intro a couple different times simply because of I've listened to the album like on shuffle, and then I've had to like skip both In the Presence of Enemies Part 1 and 2 a couple times. So I've heard up until like this point, but anything past this, I have not heard. Ooh. Dang, son. I can't even tell which one's the actual guitarist. They're both crazy right now. Ooh. Holy crap, so much amazing guitar playing in the beginning. Holy crap, what an amazing intro to the album. Okay, got the the intro riff again, kind of just played softly. It's such a good riff too, holy crap. The nice... Okay, they went to a different time signature, 6/8, I believe.
I saw a white light shining there before me. Walking to it, I waited for the end. A final vision, promising salvation. A resurrection.
Really like the effects that Burdess is putting on the keyboard.
Do you still wait for your God? And the symbol of your faith. I can free you from this hell and misery. You should never be ashamed, my son. I can give you power beyond anything. Trust me, you will be the chosen one. I was forgotten, a body scorned and broken, my soul rejected, tainted by his blood. Young redemption, a sinner not worth saving, forever taken from the one I loved. Do I still wait for my God? And the symbol of my faith. I can lead you down the path and back to life. All I ask is that you worship me. I can help you see
I'm really enjoying Portnoy's drumming on this. Petrucci's got some really nice riffs too. I think the right channel is the keyboard, and then the left channel is the guitar, but I'm not quite sure. Holy crap, that flew. That was 9 minutes long. That felt like, I kid you not, like it was 4 minutes long. I am not even kidding. Holy crap, it just flew by. There you guys have it. That was In the Presence of Enemies Part 1. So like I said, we're not going to be doing like a breakdown right now. We're going to be doing that afterwards. Right now, we are checking out In the Presence of Enemies Part 2. Let's go. Okay, this has got a very eerie feel to it. Like almost a complete opposite of the previous one. It sounds like the perfect intro to a horror movie. I love it. Just like one of those typical, like, 80s slasher movies.
I've been waiting for you, weary preacher man. You have been expected. Now we can begin. Let this hollow day of judgment begin. I have known you, Father, and your sacred quest. Blessed soldier fighting, you shall never rest. I have known you, but do you know me? Angels fall, all for you.
So it looks like he gave his soul to, I'm assuming, Satan.
I cannot see his face, but I could feel his spite. A presence from the dead, abandoned by the light. His shadow will consume him from within. This power that I sense, the rage behind those eyes. He's just a shrouded ghost, a spirit sealed inside. The body and the soul both threats, for they are one. Angels fall, all for you. Demon heart, bleed for us. My soul tells me, monster, Dark master within, I will fight for you. Dark master of sin, now my soul is yours. Dark master, my guide, I will die for you. Dark master inside, dark master of men, I belong to you. Dark master within.
Part 4, Slaughter of the Damned.
Don't bother trying to find them. They will be coming to you. Fight, fight and destroy until you can't take anymore. Slaves, feel the blood of the rebels. They are the children of hell. Flesh of the undead, stopping and nothing to kill. Caught in a moment of weakness, it is the greatest of all. So, half of my soul, and now it's too late for you. I judge as my eyes see. I judge and I am just. For I speak of the beast that lives in all of us. Unwelcome ones, your time has come. Lord, you are my God and my shepherd, nothing more shall I want. Walk through the abyss into the shadow of death. Fear, there is no equal to fear now, for I know you are with me. My cup overflows with my enemy's blood.
I'm getting some Glass Prison vibes right here. Or is it This Dying Soul? I think it's that one, actually. Okay, I'm seriously getting 12-step sweet vibes right here.
I judge as my eyes see. I judge and I am just. For I speak of the beast that lives in all of us. Unwelcome one,
Okay, part 5, Reckoning. This I think is an instrumental, it says. Ooh, I like that sound. Oh, hello. Okay, I like this. I really like Rudessa's playing right here. It's really nice. Ooh. I like that drum beat that Portnoy's got. A lot of groove to it. And Petrucci. I love his guitar playing. Okay, I'm getting hardcore, like, 12-step vibes. Either this Dying Soul or Root of All Evil right here. Ooh, I like how it just faded off right there. That was nice. So Spotify is glitched out. It's saying the song's over, but like obviously still clearly hear audio. So I'm just gonna wait until I don't hear any more audio. It's glitched out for me. I think that's the end. Yeah. Well, there you guys have it. That was In the Presence of Enemies Part 2. Initial reactions are awesome. I love this song. I love the absolute dynamic range that it had in it. But now I am off to go listen to the song. I am off to analyze it, and I am off to do an actual review on it. So we will catch you guys after I get through with that. So yeah. So now that I have had a few days to sort of digest the songs thanks to some editing magic, I gotta say that In the Presence of Enemies is definitely one of my favorite songs that I've heard. I'm not really going to be comparing it as one half to the other. I'm going to be basically talking about it as one song. Even though I will say, like part 1 or part 2, just for clarification purposes, to know which track I'm talking about, they're really just all one track. And the first thing that I wanted to sort of get out of the way was I'd mentioned in the video that there was a certain part of In the Presence of Enemies Part 2 that sounded like it was from the Glass Prison, and the part specifically that I was thinking of was Part 4, The Slaughter of the Damned from Part 2, and then the Glass Prison Part 3, Restoration, is what it sounded like to me. It definitely sounded like it was sort of not really thematically the same, but structurally the same, I guess is how I'll say it. Where they have some sort of, they have like sort of like a gang vocal in the first. They say a word and then they run through some lines and then they do sort of like a little riff to sort of like do an interlude between the next line. And it kind of reminded me of the Glass Prison in that aspect. So that's really the only sort of thing I have to compare to other songs. Just that little part reminded me a lot of it, which is a good thing, right? Because I love the Glass Prison, one of my favorite songs in the top 10. But now let's get into In the Presence of Enemies Part 1. Now, one thing I really like about this song is how it starts with a really cool, like sort of upbeat guitar riff. And then it slowly morphs over time and turns into this sort of darker, sort of sounding type of song. But then it sort of goes back into the same sort of chord progression as the, not really chord, but note progression as the first part of the song, the intro. And then it does a really slow and melodic and emotional solo, which is what I really like. It sort of represents, in my opinion, a war going on inside this person's head, a war of faiths, if you will. That's sort of what I see happening with this song. Now, I will say that that main guitar riff, the one that they had done in the beginning, and then the solo, was kind of based off of that one, but then they used it throughout the rest of the song in different iterations, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, that's one thing that I thought about was really cool about this part of the song. The other, like, I guess, music thing that I could sort of tell you was that I really liked the ending solo. It was really short by Dream Theater standards. However, it was super fast, it was super melodic, and it was super technical, which I really liked. Now, let's get to the meat and bones of this song, the lyrics. I will say that this song is more of an intro to part 2, really, than its own sort of standalone thing. I think that this song is best described as an intro to In the Presence of Enemies Part 2. Now, we've already talked about the instrumental section. I thought it was really awesome. I really enjoyed the instrumental section in this song. I think that this song is about a person who had died. Now, I don't know if he had died and he was murdered, or if he died of natural causes, or perhaps an accident. Either way, I think he's dying. Here's some things to sort of support my statement. I saw a white light shining there before me, and walking into it, I waited for the end. A final vision promising salvation, a resurrection for a fallen man. Now, what I am sort of getting out of this is this person was a religious person. They were either a Christian or some sort of religious belief where they thought that they were going to go to heaven. But something happens. The chorus and the pre-chorus are from, I believe, the Dark Master. We're going to call him Satan, just so I don't have to keep repeating that, since the part 2 repeats Dark Master at least 100 times. That's obviously an exaggeration, but it's also a joke. But I believe it is right before he tries to enter heaven. Satan is tempting him. He's wanting him to come down to hell with him. And he says, "Do you still wait for your God and the symbol of your faith?" The symbol of your faith is obviously the cross. Cross represents resurrection. He was thinking he was going to be resurrected and go to heaven. It's, I guess, what we could sort of get out of that. But the chorus is kind of interesting. He says, "I can free you from this hell and misery. You should never be ashamed, my son. I can give you power beyond anything. Trust me, you will be the chosen one." Now, in this sort of aspect, he's comparing hell and misery to heaven, which is kind of like contradictory, but let me explain. In heaven, there's sort of like a popular belief that you're not really going to have free will in heaven, and so it's going to be a lot more limited than what hell, the actual hell, would be. And so he's saying that you will be miserable in heaven. So he's offering him, I guess, a place beside him in hell is essentially what is happening here. He tempts him, says he can give him power. "Trust me, you will be the chosen one." Here's another sort of line that represents it. He says, "I was forgotten, a body scorned and broken, my soul rejected, tainted by his blood. Beyond redemption, a sinner not worth saving, forever taken from the one I loved." So this is the line right here, "Beyond redemption, a sinner not worth saving, forever taken from the one I loved." This is either talking about one or two things. It's either talking about God, or it's talking about a loved one, because it doesn't specify here. I'm believing, though, it's talking about someone he loved. So that's just sort of what I think here. And then the next pre-chorus is actually talking from his point of view. It's talking from the guy's point of view that was tempted. What if I were to go down here? He says, "Do I still wait for my God and a symbol of my faith?" And the next chorus is really key here. He says, "I can lead you down the path and back to life. All I ask is that you worship me. I can help you seek revenge and save yourself, give you life for all eternity." So it sounds like here he's offering him a deal. He's offering him, if he comes and does some stuff for Satan, he will release his soul. He'll release his soul. He'll let him go back to Earth to be with the one he loved, is what I see here. So he's basically making a deal with the devil here. Servants of the light fight to pave the way for their Savior's calling on this wicked day. Through a veil of madness with a vicious blade, one man rises up, standing in their way. Now, in my opinion, I think the one man standing up is actually key. It shows that he had accepted the deal. Servants of the fallen could be referred to as demons or other people who are in hell. They're fighting to get this guy to hell, essentially, is what I get out of this. For their Savior's calling on this wicked day. The Savior, in this aspect, is not Satan, I believe, but I believe it's actually the person that made the deal with the devil. He said he can give him power. Let me quote it specifically. "I can give you power beyond anything." So maybe the Savior in this aspect is talking about the person who had made a deal with the devil. And he says, "Through a veil of madness with a vicious, through a veil of madness with a vicious blade." So this is kind of like one of those lines where I don't really think it fits with the rest of this song. But so the story so far to me is that he was either murdered in an accident or died of natural causes, but he wasn't ready to say goodbye to the person that he loved. He decided he was going to actually take up the offer that he had given him and actually go to hell to make a deal with the devil, is essentially what part 1 is about. So with that out of the way, I'm going to go and get part 2 prepared. So now we are on to the sort of analysis of In the Presence of Enemies, part 2. And it's kind of hard for me to actually say which of these I prefer. They're both, as I said, one song. But I think that I prefer part 1 a little bit better. I like the more sort of upbeat nature to it, even though it is basically an intro to part 2. It sort of sets the stage for part 2. I still think I like In the Presence of Enemies part 1 a little bit better, but not by much. They're both absolutely incredible songs. I love both of them. They're both one song in my opinion. But let's get with a little bit of an analysis. So the song begins with how part 1 ended, with the sound of sort of a rushing wind. We can assume that this is a descent, sort of him going down to hell. The intro starts with Mayung and Rudess and is very eerie and creepy. By the way, you're going to want to get used to that phrase, eerie and creepy. It is going to be used a lot in this because there's a lot of creepy and eerie sort of sounding stuff in this song. I really like the beginning of the verse. It does, like I said, sound creepy, and it almost sounds like a satanic chant, if you will. Rudess plays a piano section of the chorus here at the beginning, and it again sounds pretty creepy. I do like the arrangement. It sounds to me like the beginning of a horror movie. I said this before, like it would fit so well if it was like in like the beginning of Friday the 13th or like a Chucky movie or something like that. To me, it sounds like it would. Also, the beginning, the build up to the chorus is very slow and methodical. And it comes to a head like when the chorus hits. It hits you with this feeling of dread almost. You feel that this person has basically lost everything. He has surrendered himself to the darkness, and you can really feel that in what it's doing. It really gives you that feeling of dread. The second verse is creepy as well. It's arguably creepier than the first one. It does keep a sense of dread going from the chorus, but like in a more ominous type of way, and not really like straightforward in your face, just kind of like sets you on edge, if you will. The next notable section is part 4, and it, like I said in the beginning of the video, it reminds me a lot of The Glass Prison. For those that who are, if you skipped forward, it reminds me of part 3, Restoration. So that's just something that I think that part 4 of In the Presence of Enemies part 2 sort of sounds like The Glass Prison. It sort of has the same sort of, I guess, progression that it had, where they would they'd talk rapidly and then they would do a verse or sort of like an intermediate like sort of guitar riff, and then they'd go back to it. Just reminds me heavily of the way that The Glass Prison was structured in that sort of aspect. The song also ramps up in terms of franticness as the conflict in the main character continues. Throughout the song, he's killing for this dark master, and we can sort of feel like the sort of conflict within him, how he wants to stay devoted, but like he wants to go back to where he was, in my opinion. The next instrumental section, John Myung, sorry, I always get comments about that. Myung, so nobody is offended. He has a really cool like sort of bass intro at the beginning, and he actually is pretty prominent in this instrumental section, which I really enjoy. There's also some good riffage by Petrucci. I really like what he is doing here, as well as some really good solos. Mike Portnoy does a really good job at sort of help building up the atmosphere, as well as just really supporting the rest of the musicians. Rudess also has some very, very cool keyboard parts, as well as some solos that fit very well with Petrucci's guitar playing. The instrumental section then comes to a head, beginning the finale of the song and the redemption of our character. And it's kind of vague as to like what it means, but we'll get into that in sort of the lyrical analysis part of it. And then the chorus arrangements, the one that instills dread in you, it sort of closes out the song. And so overall, I would say the music in this was absolutely top-notch. This is definitely one of my favorite albums that I have heard by Dream Theater. I've sort of got a list, an unofficial list as to what rank they are, but I'm not going to be ranking Dream Theater albums until I listen to all of them. Keep in mind, Dream Theater is not through once we do all the reactions. Dream Theater is not done. We're going to be doing lists, favorite songs, favorite albums, and that kind of stuff. So if you guys are excited for that, I am as well. So let's get into sort of a lyrical analysis of the song. Now, continuing from part 1, he had finally accepted that he was going to serve this Dark Master. We had originally started calling him Satan simply because just to make it easy on everyone, and so that everyone kind of knows like what we're talking about here. I really this story reminds me a lot of the rise, fall, and then redemption of Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars, where he has this conflict within him, and he ultimately decides to give himself up to it. But then at the end, he right before he dies, he sort of he rejects that side of him that he had been the darkness that had been like taken hold of him for so long, which I really enjoy. It's a really good story. So the intro is sort of like I said, it's got a very creepy, almost satanic type of chant, and it's basically him getting, in my opinion, sort of like what's the term? Initiated into hell. He says, "Welcome, tired pilgrim, into the circle. We have been waiting. Everyone's gathered for your arrival. All the believers." I says, "Angels fall, all for you, heretic. Demon heart, bleed for us." So I'm assuming that this initiation comes at a cost. They're gonna harm him or do something to him that sort of makes him invincible. When it says demon heart, bleed for us, he had an angelic heart before. Now he's on the opposite side, so now he has a demon heart. And when he says angels fall for you, I'm assuming he means that he's killing angels. So I'm recording this at almost 1 o'clock in the morning. So he says, "I've been waiting for you, weary preacher man. You have been expected, now we can begin." So this person obviously was some sort of religious leader. It says preacher, so he's probably obviously a preacher. It says, "Let this hallowed day of judgment reign." So what he means here is that his judgment is going to come in hell. I think that probably God has forsaken him at this point. He really doesn't have anything left to live for, so he is going to be fully committing himself over to the Dark Master, to Satan. He says, "I have known you, Father, and your sacred quest. Blessed soldier fighting, you shall never rest." So, to me, it seems like he's talking about Satan. He's sort of flipping the script. He now views Satan as this holy figure, I guess. Not really holy, unholy, but rather revered figure is how he's looking at him now. When he says, "I have known you, Father, in your sacred quest to obviously reign hell on earth, I guess. Blessed soldier fighting, you shall never rest. I have known you, but do you know me?" So he's questioning Satan at this point, or rather Satan is questioning him. I'm not sure. And just repeats the chorus again, for the pre-chorus. And then it all comes to a head when he says, "My soul is yours, Dark Master. I will fight for you." So at this point, he fully commits over to it. And the chorus says, "Dark Master within, I will fight, not fart. Fight for you. Dark Master of sin, now my soul is yours. Dark Master, my guide, I will die for you. Dark Master inside." So he's saying he will fight for Satan. His soul now belongs to Satan. He will die for him, and now Satan lives inside him, is basically what he's saying. Kind of self-explanatory here. So he says, "I cannot see his face, but I can feel his spite, a presence from the dead, abandoned by the light." So this is obviously talking about Satan himself. Satan's now living inside of him. It says, "The shadow will consume him from within." So this is talking from the third person, talking about our main character. "This power that I sense, the rage behind those eyes, is just a shrouded ghost, a spirit sealed inside." So now that obviously the Dark Master lives within him, he's now been granted the power that he has been seeking. So yeah, that's pretty much all this is meaning. "The body and the soul both threats, for they are one." So this one's kind of like sort of vague. I'm assuming what he could be meaning is meaning that the body, which has been granted power, is a threat, and so is the soul that now dwells within him, I guess. That's just the chorus and the pre-chorus. It says, "Don't bother trying to find them. They will be coming for you. Fight, fight, and destroy until you can't take anymore." So these are the angelic forces, I believe, that are coming trying to kill this guy, to stop this guy from carrying out the Dark Master's plan. And it says, "Slay, spill the blood of the rebels. They are the children of hell, flesh of the undead, stopping at nothing to kill. Sin, caught in a moment of weakness, committed the greatest of all. Sold half of my soul, and now it's too late for you." So this is interesting. So he says, "Spill the blood of the rebels. They are the children of hell." Now, we talked about in the beginning that, in the beginning of In the Presence of Enemies Part 1, that Satan sort of was talking about hell, or rather heaven, as a hell, because there's no free will there. And so perhaps that's what he's saying here. They are the children of hell, the blood of the rebels. Or this could actually be talking about, like, the demonic forces. I'm not sure. Perhaps this is talking, perhaps there's still war going on in him. Maybe one side of this is like God trying to talk to this guy, trying to bring him back, and the other side is talking about is talking from the point of view of the Dark Master. For example, "Spill the blood of the rebels. They are the children of hell, flesh of the undead, stopping at nothing to kill." So this could be God, or rather the light figure, trying to reason with him, and then the opposite, which is this. Sin, well, we've already talked about it. "Sold half of my soul, and now it's too late for you." So this one is probably from the point of view of the devil, trying to keep him sort of like on his side. I just realized that this is like a very lyrically deep song. So we're going to be skipping forward a little bit. There's some just kind of repetitive stuff here. So he says, "Lord, you are my God and my shepherd. Nothing more I shall want. Walk through the abyss into the shadow of death. Fear, there is no evil to fear now. For I know that you are with me. My cup overflows with my enemy's blood." So I think this is he still has this conflict in him, even though he's given over to the dark side. He still wants to ascend to heaven. Essentially is what I get out of this. And he says, "I decay in the house of the Lord forever, amen. Death will follow me all the days of my life." So he seems to have accepted his fate. "I judge as my eyes see. I judge and I am just, for I speak of the beast that lives in all of us." So there is obviously like an inner darkness to each and every single one of us. Every single one of us has felt it, regardless of whether you believe in religion or not. This is definitely true. Every single person has an inner darkness, and we all have to quell that at times. Whether that be malicious or not, we all have that sort of nature to us. So he says, "Unwelcome ones, your time has come." I'm assuming this is about the angels. And it says, "Servants of the fallen fight to pave the way for their Savior's calling on this wicked day. Through a veil of madness with a vicious blade, one man rises up, standing in the way." Wasn't this in the Presence of Enemies Part 1? Let me look real quick so that I know what I'm talking about, so that no one points it out. I don't get 100 comments pointing it out. I could have sworn this was. Yeah, wasn't it the last line? Yeah, it was the bridge for Part 1. Okay. So, now we are on to Part 6, Salvation. "My soul grows weaker. He knows and he waits. He watches over me, standing at the infernal gates." So, this is, I believe, talking from the point of view of the person who gave himself over. His I guess, faith in the dark side is starting to wane, but yet the Dark Master is watching him. He knows, he sees this in him, that his will is starting to break down, which is why he's watching over him, standing at the gates. "In the hour of darkness, the moment I feared has passed." Let's look at this line specifically. So the moment that he feared was probably himself giving him over to the dark side. The moment I lost my faith, promising salvation. So this is him when he's sort of remembering what the Dark Master had offered him, power in exchange for giving his soul to him. Now he says he breaks free. He says, "My soul is my own now. I do not fight for you, Dark Master." Now, the ending of this is kind of, sort of, not clear. We don't know what happens to our main character after this. He could end up being just enslaved, imprisoned in hell. He could ascend to heaven, or he could have been let loose onto Earth, or his soul could have just been erased from existence. We don't know what happened. It doesn't really say. So this song is definitely like a tale of falling, ascending to darkness, well, descending into darkness, and then finally breaking free of those chains. So it's got sort of, it ends on a positive note, but the rest of the song, I would say, is far from positive, which is why I really like it. We don't really get to see this side of Dream Theater very often, so it definitely stands out both musically as well as thematically in Dream Theater's catalog for me. I really enjoyed this song. As you guys can tell, I've been talking 16 minutes on this one song. This is going to be a long video. So yeah, I'm probably going to do the album discussion. Well, we're going to talk briefly about it. We can go a few more minutes. Overall, this song was absolutely amazing. In terms of the epics, I don't know where I'm going to place this. I would definitely point it out, though. I apologize, it's like almost 1 o'clock here. So, let's get into sort of an album breakdown, if you will. Because I have some good things to say about this album, as well as some negative things to say about this album. One of the positives, I really, really, really enjoyed the diversity on this record. There was a little bit of everything. There was a little bit of stuff from Train of Thought. There was a little bit of stuff that could have definitely belonged on Scenes from Memory. Forsaken specifically is what I'm talking about. It definitely has sort of that progressive rock sound to it, not really metal, which I really enjoyed. It's also got a really nice story to it as well. I love that music video, by the way. I watch that music video for Forsaken all the time. It's absolutely amazing. It's also got some, like I said, stuff from Train of Thought. It's also got some epic sounding stuff like In Their Presence. It's also got some more history sort of based stuff like The Dark Eternal Night, and some other stuff as well, some more experimental stuff like Prophets of War. As to my favorite, I'm only going to do 3 favorites because there's less than 10 songs. If there was more, I might do 5, but because there's only 8, I'm going to do 3 songs. So, this is going to get... I'd be lying if I said I listened to Constant Motion more than Forsaken, I'll put it that way. It's not that Constant Motion is a bad song, it's one of my favorites. I just listened to Forsaken a little bit more. So, in terms of where things place, here's my top 3, in the order. Now keep in mind that this changes pretty constantly. I really love Constant Motion. But Ministry of Lost Souls is number 1. You guys probably were not expecting that. Ministry of Lost Souls is number 1. In the Presence of Enemies is part 2. And Forsaken is number 3. I know that might ruffle some feathers. I might get some comments like, how can you like Forsaken more than Constant Motion? I really love Constant Motion too, okay? So get off my back about it. It's number 4. Constant Motion's number 4. We'll give that an honorable mention. But this does have some sort of here nor there type of songs as well. I would say that this is a pretty clear-cut record in terms of where things place. So, I would say that now we're going to do the least favorites of the record. Yeah, I guess in the order that I like them the least. So, the one that I like the least by far is, I hate to say this because I love the 12-step suite, is Repentance. I like the message of the song. I like that it has some guest vocals, or rather guest messages from other artists. However, the rest of the song is lacking to me. I like how it sort of... it does have reprises of some riffs from This Dying Soul. I think it's got one from Root of All Evil as well, but I can't remember. But it doesn't do it for me. I would say that that's one of my least favorite Dream Theater songs, unfortunately. And then what we have, I hate saying this because it's only 2 sections that ruin it for me. It really is. The Dark Eternal Night. If it was not for the 2 verses, I would love this song, and this would be in my top 3. It would probably push out Forsaken. But the Dark Eternal Night is awesome. I cannot stress how much I love this song. However, the verses are extremely hard for me to get past. Portnoy, I like what he's doing in the song. However, I do not like how much distortion they had on it. I would have preferred them to tone it way back. And I mean way back. It is very distracting. It takes you out of the immersion of the song. And it makes you focus completely on what he's doing. It's hard really to focus on the instruments and what Labrie is doing as well. It also comes across as really cheesy to me, which is another reason I don't really like the verses in this song. However, that being said, when it comes to the live version of this song, absolutely amazing. Now, I made a mistake saying it was live at Budokan. I don't actually know which concert it was at, but I heard a live performance of the Dark Eternal Night, and it was a night and day difference between the studio and the live version. No pun intended. The live version completely blows the studio out of the water. There is none of the distorted, cheesy stuff that I did not like in the studio one. Instead, it just sounds like it should have been from the start, which I love. I find myself actually listening to the live version more than the studio version. Prophets of War is the one where I have the least amount of experience with, but it's kind of here nor there. I do like it, but definitely not as much as Constant Motion, Forsaken, The Ministry of Lost Souls, or In the Presence of Enemies. I would say that that's really the middle ground of the album, is Prophets of War. It's either here nor there. It's awesome. Well, it's not awesome. It's a good song. I made a mistake before saying it was bad. It's not bad. It's listenable too, but it doesn't really have a whole lot going for it. I do like to listen to it occasionally though. But yeah, that is my ranking of the sort of songs and the album in general. Overall, if I had to rate this record, I'm gonna give it. I'm debating whether between a 3.5 or a 4. We're going to compromise. We're going to call it a 3.75 because Repentance and The Dark Eternal Night no, we'll give it a 4. That's 2 songs out of 8. Yeah, we'll give it a 4. We'll give this one a 4. Prophets of War was good. It's not as good as the others. So yeah, that's where I would rank this album. I would give it a solid 4 out of 5. Just because, yeah, The Dark Eternal Night has some glaring issues, in my opinion. And Repentance, I find myself wanting to skip it every single time I listen to the 12-step suite. By the way, I need to plug this in here at the end for people that are still watching. You guys are the real MVPs. I really appreciate you guys sticking around to the end to actually check this out. So, one thing I was going to say is this is sort of the format that I want to do for reviews going forward. More in-depth. What I'm going to do is, for a change of seasons, it's going to be broken up into sections like this as well. We're going to be breaking up each individual section. I still plan on doing believe it or not, I still plan on doing the Metropolis Part 2 album review. You guys never got a proper album review for that album. So I'm going to be doing an album review for that. Hopefully you guys are appreciating that. I don't expect a whole lot of people to watch that though, simply because I've already reacted to that. But then again, there's been a lot of new subscribers since then. A lot of people probably want to hear my thoughts on it. I wouldn't go back to watch my reaction of it simply because it's dated. I went back to look at a couple of the episodes, and I'm like, man, I cannot believe people were watching me back then. Simply because the quality of the recording was not good. I'm just gonna be honest. And so I'd say that this format is way better, even though it still needs some improvements. I plan on getting a better camera The audio definitely sounds a lot better than it did, though. I'm not in a rush to record to upgrade the audio, but definitely the camera needs an upgrade. Finally got some editing software, as you guys can tell, and things are looking bright for this channel. In no way am I leaving, in no way am I going anywhere. It's just for the time being, I gotta kind of step back for the moment. Not because I want to, but because I'm not gonna have any time to record. I want you guys to know this channel is constantly on my mind. I'm always thinking of stuff, even when I'm not recording and stuff. I'm constantly preparing for stuff. This channel really is my passion. I don't see myself really going anywhere. So, hopefully you guys are sticking around for the long haul. Guys, I appreciate if you stuck around to the very end of this video. This is actually just as long as the song reaction itself, and I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you guys. You guys are the unsung heroes of the channel, the ones that stick around to the very end, the ones that are always commenting, leaving such nice comments. Even when I'm particularly harsh on songs, you guys are always so supportive. And I've always heard that the Dream Theater fans, in and of itself, are pretty judgmental and kind of arrogant, and I just gotta say, I have never experienced any of that, and it's because you guys have welcomed me with open arms that I have just became so passionate about Dream Theater. I don't think I would have been nearly as invested in them if people were super critical about me, but I really do have the best subscribers. I have to say that because you guys are always just so supportive, and it really does bring a smile to my face. So with that out of the way, with that thank you out of the way, we will catch you guys later. There's going to be potentially 2 more videos up today that I have recorded, but I don't want to spam the channel with the first day, so I may upload 1 or 2 more today. So with that out of the way, we'll catch you guys later.